This is Sam Ryan Hidari, another show of the Sex, Lies, and Lawyers. Today we have a very dear friend and UFC fighter here, Ode Osbourne, the Jamaican sensation. Okay, so welcome to the show, Ode.
Thank you.
Okay, tell us about when was your last fight, the most recent fight?
August 6th was my most recent fight, and I fought before that. I fought 3 weeks before that.
Okay, and you're originally from Vegas?
Originally, I was born in Jamaica. So originally, I lived in Jamaica until I was 9 years old. Then I moved to Florida, New York, then Florida, and then Wisconsin, then Vegas.
Wow, you went all the way.
I did.
From East Coast to West Coast.
Yeah. I had to experience a little bit of everything, you know?
So tell me what interested you in the UFC, actually.
It's an interesting question. I feel like it was the only thing that I had going for me at the time. Because when I was wrestling in Florida, I ended up.
At what age you started wrestling?
14.
14.
Started wrestling
in high school, in
yes.
middle school. Yeah. Okay.
Picked it up. Became pretty good pretty fast. Because I was very competitive, and in the off season while people were, watching porn, I was wrestling. In the summertime. That's all I was doing.
In Florida.
In Florida, yeah.
In that weather, outdoor or indoor?
Indoor. People were at the beach doing all kinds of, all my friends were doing all kinds of partying. I was sometimes too, but I was wrestling a lot in the summertime. So I wanted to be the best. You know what I mean? And I was the first wrestler in my high school to start wrestling as a freshman, and then become a state place winner 3 times. My sophomore, junior, and senior year. Wow. And then I ended up wrestling in Wisconsin. I went to college there for wrestling.
And you got a scholarship.
Yes. And I didn't get a scholarship. I got scholarships offered to me from in other schools. I got scholarships in South Carolina. I got scholarship offered in Iowa, all over the country. But I went to Wisconsin for free. Not for free, sorry. For my coach that worked at Carroll University. He was an assistant coach there. First, and then he got the head coaching position, and
then you followed him.
I followed him. Yeah, he was my wrestling coach, believe it or not, in high school. He left my junior year, went back to Wisconsin to coach, was the head coach there, and I followed him, and so that's how I ended up in MMA in Wisconsin.
MMA, you fought MMA as well. Yeah,
yes. MMA is the sport, right?
The sport,
UFC
yes.
is the league. Football is the sport, and NFL is the league. It's the same concept with with fighting.
Okay, what was the highest achievement that you had in your life other than the UFC?
Oh man, the highest achievement I had in my life, honestly, it's gonna sound really stupid, but I will say, when I came to this country, I couldn't read. I learned to read when I was 12 years old because education just wasn't a thing in Jamaica. My mom moved here first into the United States.
You couldn't read at all? Any languages?
No, I could read a little bit. I could pick out words, but I couldn't really read. Because I didn't really go to I didn't go to school that much in Jamaica. I was kept home a lot. So
wasn't it education mandatory over there for the?
Somewhat. It's not really. Education is very high. Education source there is very high, but getting me to school and stuff like that, I didn't have people around me in my life that really cared that much to bring me to school every day and bring me back home. And
what brought you to the United States? Your mom?
Well, my mom moved here first. So she moved here first to, build a better life, just like how every immigrant, build a better life for me. And it was very hard those 2 years without my mom because she was the only person that really gave me that love and affection. You know what I mean? And when she came up here, I didn't have that anymore. Obviously I was with family members, but they didn't really care that much. You know what I'm saying?
To put you in a school, make sure that you are going to the school, coming back and doing the homework.
None of that.
Not too much supervision. You were on your own, just someone helping you.
I pretty much I grew up in the woods, so I spent most of my time in the woods, just kind of figuring life out as a child, and I remember thinking, at a young age, like, man, there has to be more than these woods.
You were a survivor.
Yeah, I was.
You had to survive in the woods.
I was.
Did it help you as well in the UFC? How you achieve your all these achievements that you have in the UFC, actually?
No, it really did. It really did. I thought a lot of adversity helped me achieve everything where I'm at now. I'm so grateful because, you know, I'm a believer in God, and I believe that He has brought me to this place, you know, from being in the woods. Because when I was in the woods, all I knew was the woods. I didn't know about anywhere else but the woods. You know what I mean? And I would look up in the sky and I would see airplanes all the time. And I would say, man, someday I'm going to go to America and I'm going to do something great. You know, I didn't have much money.
Coming to America was your first plane ride?
Yes, that was my first plane ride.
In your life?
In my entire life. That was my first plane ride. I never. Yeah.
And you have to appreciate your mom then.
I appreciate her so much. You don't even know. I appreciate her to the fullest because
she's still around?
Yes, she lives in Florida right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's cool. That's interesting. What about college? You said that you went to college, yeah?
Yeah, I only went to college for a year because they dropped the program, the wrestling program, and I was paying out of pocket, so I couldn't afford to pay for college anymore. You know, my mom didn't work at the time. She didn't make a lot of money. My stepdad didn't make a lot of money. It was a recession at the time. It was 2012, and so I couldn't.
How old are you right now?
I'm 30. I just turned 31 in January.
31. Okay.
So I couldn't really afford to go to college, so I had to drop out. And I had a decision to make, you know what I mean? And my decision was, do I go back to Florida or do I keep going? Because I doubt that, you know, God put me here just to turn around. You know what I mean? It's like, what do I do now? So I decided to find the nearest MMA gym, and you know, I had no degree, no job. I wasn't allowed to work at the time. You know, I was because of my visa situation, so I couldn't work any jobs. I couldn't make any money. So I was like a fish out of water. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, man, what am I gonna do with my life? You know, and it was almost like I needed to figure something out. You know what I'm saying? I could have just gone back to Florida and lived with my mom like everybody else does, right? But ever since I was a kid, I was surviving. And that's what I was, you know, I'm a survivalist. I was always meant to go to the next level. I always take life to the next level. So I found the nearest MMA gym, and I told the trainer, I said, look, I'm not allowed to work in the States. I can't work legally. I was like, but if you let me clean the gym, and I train, if you let me train.
Let me to just practice here.
Yeah, but let me practice here, and I will clean the gym. I will do whatever you need me to do, you know, if you let me train. Yeah. And he looked at me and he's like, okay.
You were eager to learn and also does progress.
Yeah, and he actually, because I never had a father figure around. So, I mean, I had my stepdad, but I've only known him at the time 3 years. But this guy's name was Reese. And he actually took me in, and not only did he give me a place to train, but he gave me structure. He gave me discipline. He gave me motivation, because coming from Florida, I didn't have much discipline or structure. You know what I mean? And so, you know, every time I came to the gym, he's like, this is my rules. There's no swearing in my gym. You have to bow before you enter my gym. You have to be respectful. You have to be disciplined. You have to have this, that. And, you know, he laid everything out, you know. He took me to church with him every Sunday. He pretty much brought me under his wing, and he transformed me from a child to a man, essentially. You know, I worked every day, busted my ass day in, day out with him. Never lost a fight under him. Never, not once, lost an amateur fight, lost a pro fight. I remember the first time I went to the gym, and he's like, hey, I know you haven't fought yet, but a fight fell out, and I want you to enter this competition. I know you've never fought, but I want you to enter because you've been training really hard and I believe in you. And that was the first time I had somebody look at me dead in my eyes and say, I believe in you. And, you know, that meant a lot to me. So I was like, okay, let's do it. So I went in there and I obliterated the competition. Never fought before, obliterated the competition. He's like, you know what, Ode? He's like, you have a serious chance of becoming a UFC champion someday if you set your mind to it.
When was the first time that you had the UFC fight?
2019.
2019. Mm-hmm. You remember what was the fight about?
Yeah, so I fought.
With whom?
I fought on the Conor. So you know Conor McGregor?
Yeah.
So I fought on the same card as him in 2019. It was against Brian Kelleher. And I, you know, it was one of those moments. At this time, Reese, my trainer, he had already passed away. So I had lost a lot of drive and support and mental. So I ended up losing my first fight in the UFC. Let the crowd got to me, looked around, and panicked, and I was all over the place, and so.
You won that fight.
No, I lost my first fight.
That was the first fight that.
I was distracted. Lost. Yeah, I was very distracted. And I had to.
Tell me about the fight that you thought that possibly you are going to lose, but you won. Actually, it was a surprise for yourself as well that you could achieve that actually to win that fight.
When my trainer passed away, so he died in a motorcycle accident, and I had to fight 2 weeks later. And here this guy that has given me everything, you know what I'm saying, was a father figure to me, taught me about life, discipline, structure, motivated me, taught me everything, passed away, crushed me, tore me apart. And I had to fight 2 weeks later, and I thought about pulling out of the fight, but I was like, you know what, Reese would have wanted me to fight. He wouldn't want me to pull out, he would want me to fight. And I wasn't sure how the fight was going to go, but I ended up beating my opponent in like...
Who was the opponent on that fight?
His name was I don't even remember his name. I can't remember his name. It was so long ago. It was in 2000.
But you were doubting yourself at that time, Paws?
Yeah, I was doubting myself. And I ended up winning that fight in the first round in like 3 minutes because I had so much like spiritual, rage because my coach. It was an emotional moment, and I felt like my trainer was there with me, but he wasn't. It was very emotional and very spiritual, and it was beautiful. Actually, it was beautiful. It was probably one of the best performances I've ever had when I thought I was gonna lose.
So since you came to US, you didn't have any problem with the law, yes? As a person that in this field, sometimes people get into a fight, a street fight, or the bar fights.
Give or take, not with the law directly, but more so people. With like. Being able to work and getting, status, getting my, paperwork and visa stuff situated, that's the only issues I had, because I'm, what DACA, are you familiar with DACA?
Yeah.
I am a DACA.
Wow, okay.
So that was the only issue that I had was I wasn't.
It's renewed, yes?
Yes.
Now you have a status completely, you can just work legally.
I can work legally,
okay.
But for 25 years, it was a struggle for me, you know what I mean? I used to split wood I wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning and go and split wood until about 12 in the afternoon and then go train. And I would get paid cash, $10.
You cannot apply for the talent actually, or the green card as a DACA?
I'm not sure how that works now.
Actually. You can just apply.
Really? Yeah.
To get the status.
Yeah, I'm unfamiliar.
Because you're a talented person and you're achieved, and you can just do it. In the immigration system, yeah.
I'm gonna have to pick your brain on that. I'm gonna have to pick your brain on that one for sure, because that was, my whole life. Whenever I fight, I feel like I can fight 15 minutes easily because my whole life has been it's been hard. You know what I mean? It's been difficult. But I'm glad it was difficult. You know why? Because now I can approach everything that's hard with a mindset that, I've lived so many hardships and trials and tribulations. This is nothing. I can do this. I can do this. I was able to make it all the way from Jamaica to here.
How long you lived in the woods based on your...
Oh, man, every day. I was in the woods.
What age you remember?
I remember since I was 3 years old. I remember from 3 years old until 9.
Coming out of the house and go in the woods, and no one bothers you, parents or anything, just you go hang out in the woods.
Yeah, pretty much. They didn't really...
And play around and...
Yeah, I would... because think about it, you never needed food or water because, in Jamaica...
water.
Water everywhere, and there's fruits you can pick. And I was kind of a nuisance, you know what I mean? To the adults, they were like, go away. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay. So I would just go and wander off into the woods from the age of like maybe 5 until 9. I was, I would walk alongside the beach. I would go into the woods. I would go anywhere. Anywhere I wanted to go, I would go. And I would just come back home at night and sleep, wake up, do the same thing
And
because
no one asks you where you're going, or there's a danger out there, an animal, or there's something.
yeah, nothing at all, nothing at all. It was good though because it was freedom. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It was freedom because when I was home, I was getting yelled at or I was getting spanked for something I shouldn't have been doing, which is like talking too much or, you know what I mean, stupid stuff. So I really didn't feel a lot of love at home, you know. And the only love I felt was from my mother, which she was here, you know. So I really cherished those times where she would call, you know, she would call home to speak to me, and I'd run to the phone, and that would be the happiest times of my life when I was in Jamaica. Was getting
Which city you were at?
Kingston.
Kingston.
Yeah,
Okay, so
Kingston.
that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
And
So, tell us about your future fights. Actually, is there anything coming up?
yes, so I'm actually fighting this weekend in the UFC. I'm fighting Charles Johnson, who is a last-minute replacement for Denise Bondar. He is 13-3, about to be 13-4. And I'm not saying that arrogantly, but I'm very confident in my abilities, you know, that I'm going to go out there and do what I was chosen to do, you know.
Nice.
But it's not necessarily only about fighting for me. For me, it's much more than fighting. For me, fighting is just a gateway. It's just a platform to give whatever my future has. That's what fighting is going to bring me to. You know, because I want to inspire a lot of people like myself who's maybe came here and feel like, you know what, like it's hard. You know, I want to inspire a lot of people to know that they can do anything they want to do as long as they set their mind to it and as long as they just put one foot in front of the other. You don't need to be great at anything. You just need to be good for a long period of time. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to be the best right away. All you need to do is just be good. Just be good for a long time at whatever it is you do, and then you become great.
It doesn't matter what you do.
It doesn't matter. You just be good, and you work hard. As long as you work hard at anything.
You mentioned your mentor passed away in the motorcycle accident. Where was it?
In Wisconsin. So,
Wisconsin.
Yeah, he passed away in 2015.
Hopefully you are not riding bikes, yeah?
I am riding a bike, actually.
Really?
Yeah, well, because it was the only thing I could afford when I moved out. I moved out. So here's this backstory.
But now you can afford, just please.
Backstory. So backstory. When I moved here, I only moved here a year ago, and I moved here from Wisconsin. And same concept, you know, we don't really get paid that much in the UFC. It's not a secret. Everybody knows it. You know what I mean? And I moved here with not a lot of money to my name, and I couldn't really afford a car or anything at the time. So I was like, you know what? I need to get something going so I can go to the gym and train and go back home. So I bought a bike, you know, a cheap bike so I can go back and forth to the gym and home. And gas was only, $5 to fill my tank up, you know. Now it's 12, but you know, I'll take it.
But that's a issue that in Vegas is dangerous to ride motorcycle on the roads. Other people, they don't respect your boundaries, actually, even though you are careful out there, but they don't care. Some of them they don't see.
It's true.
It's a wide roads and no one is visible on the side of the road or just when they're sharing roads.
No, I know. I ride very careful. I ride the speed limit. I ride in the middle lane so I can see people when they pull in and out. I try to ride in the middle lane. But my plan is to get rid of my bike after I have probably like 2 more fights and I get enough money to where I can get myself situated. I want to get a car and a house, and I could, you know, be comfortable. You know what I'm saying? But as until then, I have to.
Do you have any social media?
Yeah, I have Instagram and Twitter.
Any podcasts?
Oh yeah, I do a podcast here.
Okay.
I do my own podcast here. That it's actually. I went from when I met John Orlando. I didn't have a podcast. Met John Orlando. I had 40 subscribers on YouTube. Within 3 months, I gained, Ask George, almost 900 subscribers.
900 subscribers
within 3 months
on YouTube.
Within 3 months, yeah,
that's great.
So in the last 3 months, I've been going like this, just going crazy.
That's going to be another source of income for you, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully, in another year, man.
Keep going, man.
I am. I'm a hard worker, you know. I know how to work hard.
People are interested in UFC and their stories. Actually, the fighters, They're
Yeah.
coming from the different backgrounds, most of them.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people enjoy my personality because I just try to be myself, you know. I don't try to be tough or hard or like, you know what I mean? I just be myself, and I'm genuinely a happy person, where if you were to look at my life, I were to tell you all the things I went through in my life, you would have been like, how are you still living? How are you so happy now? You know what I'm saying? I'm genuinely a happy, carefree person just because I feel like I'm grateful. I'm grateful. For the little bit I have, I'm very grateful for it.
That's great. Thank you for coming on the show. Do you have anything to add for the
Uh,
listeners?
no, I just want to add thank you for having me on the show. I
Thank you
really
for coming on the
appreciate
show.
it.
It was a great honor to see you, and we will be in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.